Everyone thinks the 1929 crash was just bad luck. The real culprit was sitting in your broker's office the whole time. By October 1929, the average American investor could own a stock without actually paying for it. Put down 10%, borrow the rest, that was the deal. Brokers called it buying on margin. It felt like a shortcut to wealth. It was actually a time bomb. The setup was simple. You wanted a stock trading at $100. You put in $10 of your own money and borrowed $90 from your broker at interest. If the stock climbed to $120, you sold it, paid back the $90 plus interest, and pocketed the gain. On paper, you'd made a fortune on a $10 bet. That's why millions did it. But margin buying only worked when prices went up, and in the 1920s they did, relentlessly. The Dow Jones climbed over 400% in less than a decade. Shoeshine boys talked stocks. Taxi drivers gave tips. The whole nation believed the market would climb forever. Here's what made it dangerous. Brokers didn't actually own the stocks either. They borrowed them from banks. Banks lent money to brokers. Brokers lent to investors. It was credit stacked on credit, 7 stories high, held together by the assumption that prices would never fall. By September 1929, Americans owed brokers roughly $5 billion, an astronomical sum for the era. About 600 million shares were bought on margin. The entire system was balanced on confidence alone, and confidence, once broken, shatters fast. On October 24, 1929, Black Thursday, prices began to crack. Nothing catastrophic at first, but as soon as stocks dipped, margin calls went out. Brokers demanded their money back. Investors who'd borrowed $90 on a $10 bet suddenly had to pay. Most couldn't. They were forced to sell immediately at any price. Millions of shares flooded the market at once. Prices collapsed. More margin calls came, more forced selling. The cycle fed itself. By October 29th, Black Tuesday, the market had lost 90% of its value in months. But here's the real story. Margin buying wasn't the only villain. The Federal Reserve had kept interest rates absurdly low throughout the 1920s. Banks lent freely with almost no regulation. There was no circuit breaker, no pause button, no rule saying you can't borrow more than X% of the stock's value. The crash itself wasn't the disaster. The disaster was what came after. Millions of ordinary people lost their entire savings, money they'd never actually borrowed, but that evaporated when margin calls collapsed the system. Banks failed, unemployment hit 25%, the Great Depression followed. So that's why it costs what it does. Unchecked leverage and borrowed money amplify both gains and losses. A 10% dip becomes a total wipeout when you're borrowing at 90%, and when everyone's borrowing, one person's fire sale becomes everyone's funeral. Today, margin rules exist. The SEC limits how much you can borrow. Circuit breakers halt trading if prices drop too fast. But the lesson from 1929 is sharper than any regulation. When credit becomes too easy and prices seem to only go up, the system isn't broken yet. It's just waiting. Understanding margin buying and unchecked credit isn't about predicting the next crash. It's about recognizing the machinery, how leverage multiplies risk, how confidence can evaporate instantly, and how one person's borrowed money becomes everyone's problem. That's the real story buried beneath October 1929. Subscribe for more financial history. Every week we uncover the patterns that shaped how money works today. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe, there's a new financial bubble waiting to be unraveled every week. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.